Hello, and welcome to Channel Zero TV with John and John. I'm John,
And I'm John.
and tonight we're going to take a look at something that is probably a tad more well known than some of the more obscure stuff we've screened for you in the past. The 1971 animated short, Thank You, Masked Man, featuring the work of Lenny Bruce. John, you want to talk a little bit about what people are about to watch?
You know, in a lot of different ways, Thank You, Masked Man is Lenny Bruce's legacy. It's about 7 minutes long. It's one of his most famous routines about the real reason why a certain masked rider for justice in the Old West never hangs around to receive the thanks and gratitude of the townspeople that he reflexively saves from whatever peril they're in week after week, month after month, year after year. It was animated by Jeff Hale and John Magnuson in a very sort of National Film Board of Canada sort of a way. I kind of like this style a great deal. It reminds me a lot of like Rocky and Bullwinkle. If Rocky and Bullwinkle dropped a lot of acid.
Or we're Canadians?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's watch Thank You, Masked Man. We'll be back to talk about the animated work and the man behind it.
Hi-ho! Maskman! Wait a minute, Maskman! Did you see that? That guy believable? Again, I bought a present for him, made a whole party, he don't wait. Now, I'll keep the money, but it's a sucker. The Maskman, it's a beautiful person. Hi-ho! Wait a minute, we have more presents. This guy is selfless. Did you give him any money? Not a nickel. How many times he took the garbage out already for us? Cleaned up the yard. He don't want nothing. This is a beautiful person. There hasn't been one guard like that. Every guard always stuck around for, look what I did for you. Or his friends tell you what we're, this. Ho-ho! Wait a minute, Maskman, we got a present for you, Maskman. Did you give him any money? I didn't give him a nickel. You either? Good-natured schmuck ain't got a quarter, I'm telling you. He don't take nothing. He don't even take thank you. They all take. He don't take, I'm telling you. Ho-ho! Maskman! Maskman! Wait a minute!
I got 12 and K. Wait a minute.
Maskman, wait a minute, you asshole! Wait a minute! I'm tired of his horse shit now. And that's the third time I made a present for him, he ran off. I don't mind for me, but my ma, she made coffee and cake and everything. That bastard, is he kidding? Was he too good for everybody? He saw the old lady came out, he made coffee and cake, and that schmuck rides off. And he laughed at us, I'm telling you. He went high like that. He's no good, I'm telling you. The fink. Bastard, I hate it. He saw the old lady came out with arthritis here. Then the coffee fear. I'm gonna get him, I'll get him. I don't want to hear that shit, he's a nice guy. He's not a nice guy. If he's a nice guy, how come he leaves bullets for everybody? I don't care if they're silver, he leaves bullets. You know why he leaves the bullets? I bet you give you Dr. Ehrlich the magic bullet, 606. What's that? Syphilis. What? Sure, that's what he's saying. He's saying in his own way that the whole world has syphilis. And that's why he rides over with his mouth closed. He don't want no part of nobody. And this, I'm telling you. Hey, Pop, bring him back. I'm going to kick his ass all over the lot. Now, bring him back here right now. Don't you move, you psychotic. Hold the gun, Ma. Maskman, what's your story, buddy? You know Mr. D'Angelo, he's hopping-ass mad at you. His mama made all them hot Italian cakes and you runned off. Runned off and didn't wait for nothing. How come you're so snotty you can't accept love or thank you from nobody? I'll explain if you get your goddamn hands off me, you barbarians. The reason I never wait for thank you, see, supposing once I wait for thank you. Thank you, Maskman. What's that? Thank you, Maskman. Thank you, Maskman. God damn it, I like that. Let's hear it once again, son. Thank you, Maskman. Thank you, Maskman. That's sweet.
Help! Get the Maskman, we're in trouble.
I'm a little busy now, I'm getting a few thank yous.
Maskman, help, we're being robbed. Get the Maskman.
Don't break my balls now. I helped you people a lot. I'm entitled to take 1 week off to get some thank yous. You're not going to get nothing if you keep it up. All right, let's have it again. Thank you, Maskman. I'm going to get a book, that's all. Screw these people. I'll get a thank you, Maskman book. I'll put it in the book. And I'm old. They'll say, you in the shingle business? Ah, well, you think I was always in the shingle business? Look at this. Thank you, Maskman. Leo Carrillo, Freeport, Long Island. Look at all the thank you mask. I'm going down to the mailbox and see if the thank you mask man's been here today. Yeah, he's okay. A lot of good things to say, you know. He's not the whole brains. After all, his outfits, a lot of other people work very hard. Paul, Luke, and all them people. Someone's been fooling with my mail. I know it. Someone's fooling with my mail. Where's my thank you mask man? There are no more thank you mask men. The Messiah returned during the night. The Messiah? Well, what does this do with me? Well, you see, men like yourself, you thrived upon the continuance of segregation, violence, and disease. Now the Messiah's returned, all is pure. You're in the shithouse. Well, then I'll make trouble. Because I'm geared for it. And I must have a thank you masked man. And that's why I always ride off and never wait for thank you. Damn, you sure can talk some shit, buddy. I got a damn headache. My head hurts me. What the hell are you talking about? Thank you, masked man. Leave Korea, Freeport, Long Island. Look, I work for the city. You know what I mean, buddy? I got a job to do. Now, look, I'm here to see you accept a present. Just one present. Do it for the kids. We'll get the hell out of here. What do you say? All right, for the children, I'll do it. Give me no ashtrays. Anything I want? Anything. Just take it, buddy. Whip or doll, and the damn things up on the top shelf. I tell you what. Anything? Give me that Indian over there. Who's that? Tonto? Yes, Tonto. I want Tonto the Indian. The hell you talking about? You can't have Tonto. Bullshit, you made the deal. That's what I want. I want Tonto the Indian. You're gonna get you Tonto, buddy. His name ain't Tonto, it's Tonto. What the hell you want Tonto for? To perform an unnatural act. To what? To perform an unnatural act. Oh, the masked man's a fag. The fag man. The dirty fag. You dang queer, you. The masked fag man. Ain't that a kick in the ass? That you get mascara under that damn mask, ain't you? A dang queer. I never knew you a fag masked man. I'm not a fag, but I've heard a lot about it and read exposés. I want to try it now to see how bad it is. Just once. I like what they do with fags anyway. The punishment is quite correct. They throw them in jail, a lot of men. Very clever. Wash them up and get them ready. Tell you what, give me the horse, too. What do you want that horse for? For the act. Disgusting fag. He's a dang queer freak.
Disgusting Disgusting
Well, that brought back memories. I think especially memory of seeing this for the first time in a cinema. I think it was the Orson Welles cinema, probably back in the late 70s or early 80s. But John, I want to talk about how this came to be, because this was actually a Lenny Bruce routine, a routine that was recorded live that they then animated over after Bruce died.
Yeah, it's actually one of his more famous routines where he's riffing on the Lone Ranger and his myriad of motivations as to why he cuts out anytime, gratitude is being offered. He had a lot of routines like this. The famous Palladium routine, which was about a schleppy Gentile comic bombing in London's largest theater, the Palladium. He had another routine about Hitler joining the MCA talent organization. A lot of different problematic things. We didn't do any trigger warnings on this one, just simply because if you aren't offended by Lenny Bruce, then Lenny Bruce, even in death, is not doing his job.
Right, then there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
So, and I can't imagine anybody doesn't know, but Bruce was the original shock comic. Years ahead of his time. I think he kind of cut his teeth playing strip clubs, and when he started performing in more traditional comedy clubs, was bringing this sort of mix of edgy topics and kind of jazz riffs, and we should note a healthy amount of drugs to his performances.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if he's the first guy to sort of like systematically riff on popular culture, but it was a big part of sort of his high noon repertoire. I mean, he would talk about, the Lone Ranger. He would talk about Las Vegas comics. He would talk about, he was, as you pointed out, he had broken free of the mother-in-law joke and, there was no turning back.
And he was other milieu. I think he's roomed with Buddy Hackett for a while, but he was the harbinger of a new form of comedy, not just the sort of vulgarity that we kind of take for granted now, but talking about tough subjects, including his own arrests and particularly for obscenity charges. But I think, both George Carlin and Richard Pryor, I think the three of them were considered the sort of most influential comics of the 20th century. But Carlin and Pryor both sort of talk about Lenny Bruce as their inspiration.
Carlin at least had the good common sense to survive to relatively old ages, so that, they were in a position to sort of talk a little more authoritatively about their formative influences, things like that.
Yeah, so that's Bruce, and certainly encourage you to see him in all his incarnations. There's recordings of his original concerts, obviously as Dustin Hoffman, Lenny. He's also making an appearance now in a COVID show I'm enjoying, Mrs. Maisel, about a woman becoming a stand-up comic during this period who befriends Lenny Bruce, who's a character in the show, whose presence really kind of electrifies the screen. So that's just a current recommendation. But this animation, it was this anything official? Was this something done out of appreciation of Bruce after he died?
It's a labor of love between like John Magnuson and Jeff Hale. They saw the cinematic potential of this particular routine and, move forward on that basis. I mean, they never really had any hope of making any money off of it. It's only 7 minutes long. In some ways, I look at this and I think it's the road not taken because, I mean, there's dozens of other routines that he did that would really, really lend themselves to, animated short subjects, regardless of the fact that Lenny was like infamous in the comedy community for not really trafficking in punchlines. When the story's over, that's it. There's no sort of climax to it. There's no sort of pie in the face moment or anything like that. It just ends, and the stories themselves are so funny and so powerful you almost don't notice that he's getting away with that. And I just want to do a quick shout out. I happen to love this style. None of these characters in this animated short have anything resembling shoulders. I just find that hilarious.
It's funny now in the age of South Park, where lack of animated depth is celebrated, but all the things we're used to from low budget animation, the reuse of the same images, the minimal use of movement that's not sort of gliding, but it somehow works. I think I think it might be the stylization of the characters themselves that made it enjoyable. And of course, you sort of can't take your ears off the words.
It's hand-drawn animation. It reminds me a lot of like, PSA's circa like 1970.
I think the skill also, it just sort of lets the storytelling drive it. I mean, I think the animation is amusing, but it certainly, I particularly like the two rabbis announcing the Messiah had arrived. But, the whole notion that the Messiah arrived and the masked man is no longer needed is much funnier than how they're depicted on screen.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Anyway, if you want to take on Lenny Bruce, you can obviously watch us again by just screening our video over and over again, or catch some of the documentaries on Lenny Bruce, or, as I said, the Dustin Hoffman picture, or you might want to tune into Mrs. Maisel and get a notion of the impact he's still having on popular culture. But until then, we appreciate your joining us for the screening of 1971 Thank You, Masked Man, and hope you join us next time for Channel Zero TV. Until then, I'm John.
And I'm John.
And go get vaccinated.